307 country, about 10 degrees outside. Today we've got a 2008 Buick Lucerne, and the alternator went out, and it's also got a bad power steering fluid leak somewhere. So we're going to tear into that today, probably do 2 separate videos, one taking out the alternator, the other one fixing the power steering leak, hopefully. So let's dive right into it. So right there is the tensioner pulley. So I'll have to loosen that to get the belt off, and also disconnect the battery. My tripod situation, well, I might be able to get a better view of this. Let me see what I can do. Alright, first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. I'm disconnecting the positive just because the battery is in the trunk. I believe that's a 10. The only thing with disconnecting the positive is you got to make sure you don't ground it out on something. That's it right there. And we'll just slide it in between the plastic right there on between the washer fluid and the fuse box. Next thing you got to do, the oil fill tube just comes out. You twist it a little bit. And then the top of the motor cover comes off. There's our alternator. So let's see. That probably looks like a 15. Oops. There's our belt is off. And unplug the wire off the alternator. Get that out of the way. Little boot on the back of that thing, don't want to peel back. Alright, it is a 10mm. I was thinking it would be. These alternators for this thing ain't cheap, I'll tell you. Ain't like the old trucks. Nut here on top, it's on a brace. And so that brace might have to be loosened on the other end too. $10mm down there. bolt. That brace just comes off. This car is my son's, and here several years ago he was on his way back from Salt Lake, and him and his little brother was riding in the passenger seat, and they were in the left-hand lane and the exit was coming up. My older son, I don't know what he was thinking, but they were passing a semi. And he asked his little brother if that was the exit they were supposed to take, and he said, yeah. So he just whipped it over. And he wound up clipping the front of the semi with the rear end of the car. Turned him sideways. The semi hit the passenger side of the car with its front bumper. So my youngest son was looking right out the window at the emblem of a Peterbilt or a Volvo or whatever that guy was driving. It pushed the car forward and they spun because they were still spinning. And as they spun around, the front bumper, passenger side, and tire of the semi hit the passenger side fender on the front of the car, and they slid backwards down into the ditch off the exit ramp. So it pretty much just destroyed the passenger side of this car. Well, it didn't destroy it, but it just dented everything. So the insurance company totaled it, but it ran good, and the frame's still straight. I mean, it's still a straight car. It's got body damage. Somehow the son bought it back from the insurance company. He'd been driving it. Drove it all through high school, and then when he graduated, he bought a pickup, that Dodge that we were working on in the last video, and he bought that off of his stepdad. And it's been a good, decent truck, but he's looking to get a new one here next summer. Well, not a new one, but a newer used one probably. He's got a good job saving money and stuff, so. Anyway, that's the story on this car. And then I've been driving it here recently. And that's a long-winded bolt. There we go. This is the first time I've done alternator on this thing, so I'm not sure. Oh no, there's one more. I don't know why that was still pretty tight on there. Alright, there's the alternator. It's off. So we'll get the new one and get it put on here in a second. Be right back. Alright, went to town and got the new alternator. I'll get that set on there. Let's see. This one. My youngest son was just out here. He's one of my in that basketball pitcher, Duncan. They just had a game last night against #1 in the conference. Kind of a pointless game really, because they're number 2 and the other team's number 1, and the other team's won the tie-breaking game, so it didn't really matter whether they won or lost. But they went out and had a good time, and they almost beat them. It was a close game, but for some reason we just weren't making shots last night. They all missed several free throws, and one of a 3-point shooters just could not hit anything last night. And it was a 3-point game, I think the final score was. So if any of them would have made a few more free throws, or a couple of the kids would have made a couple of the 3-point shots, we'd have won the game. But they're going to regionals and probably go to state. I don't know. You never know, you know. And go to state and wind up winning it. If things happen right, some guys have a bad day or something, you never know what can happen. It's been fun. He's a senior. So last night was his last regular season game. The night before last, they had their last home game. Pretty emotional, you know. It's tough to see them be done when they're as good as they were, but a lot of fun too. These kids have been playing together since they were kindergarten, first grade. Man, they used to lose a lot. Lost more than they won, and now they're, you know, number 2 in the conference in a school. They're playing 3A. We're the smallest school in the 3A conference. Next year we'll be going back down to 2A. If those kids, if that team was playing 2A this year, they'd be number 1, probably win the state championship. They had some amazing coaches and some amazing games. It's been pretty cool. Trying to find the power steering leak on this here. While I was waiting for him to come out, he had to come and give me a ride to town to get the alternator, and I was hoping to get the power steering leak found before he got out here, because the auto parts store closes at noon, and it's past noon now, so I'm not going to be able to fix this power steering today, but I can get it diagnosed, find out where the leak's coming from. But in order to find the leak, I gotta have the car running, so I had to get the alternator put back on to find the leak. We'll get into that video here a little bit. That'll be my next one out probably. One thing when you're putting in a new alternator you want to make sure of is that your battery is fully charged before you start the car, because otherwise it'll put too much it'll tax your new alternator too much. It can't work that hard charging a dead battery. Sometimes they won't last through that and ruin a brand new alternator that way. Put that in. Then we'll see if we can reroute this belt. That'll be fun. Let's see, so that goes over that one. That. No, I got something wrong because that's not tight. Get a cheater on that. Let's see. That might work. I don't know. I ain't guaranteeing nothing here. Tell you, these serpentine belts, especially without a die, I don't know why there's not a sticker on here that shows how this thing's routed. And of course, can't get it on there that way. That'll do it. Alright, just checking all the pulleys, make sure the belt's on straight on all of them. Get on that one, get on that one. Not on that one. There we go. Get that on. Well, let's see if we can fire it up. Battery's been charged. It's been a while since I did that last little segment we had to run to town. Let's start her up and see what it looks like. I guess it helps if I hooked up the positive terminal. Kind of hard to get it started without any juice. Alright, now let's see what we do. Well, it looks pretty good. So, that's how you put an alternator on. back on, get the oil spout back in. That's kind of a chintzy deal. I've never liked that. Anyway, just want to say thanks to everybody for watching my videos. Really appreciate it. Loving the comments. If you could hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and if you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because you never know when I'm going to put something up. I'm not very consistent, or don't really have a schedule for putting videos out. So if you like them and you want to watch them, hit that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I put a new video up. So appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for watching. 307 out.